All right, let's call this meeting to order. Out of respect, please turn off all cell phones and remove all hats. Is anybody recording first of all?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got one recording. Arlene, if you would, timer in the comment section, don't turn it on for you.
Okay.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a few seconds for the people that died, the 13 veterans, I should say the military.
Okay, the first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the board workshop, August 3rd. Do I have a motion to approve it as written?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Okay, next we have, board correspondence, and we have nothing. The next thing is report, president report by me. I'm gonna say that, as you know, the parking lot's done out there, fixing to do the tennis court. I think Vince has already painted the fence. Also, the stripe down the country club road has been done. And, Ezra, the paving's finished, the paving. And we're working on we put the trailers and tags in the computer system Carol did for the RV compound. So we're gonna start giving out spots this week. And also, I was gonna leave for Carol, but I'm gonna say something. I wanna give everybody thanks about the news and views. I'm not gonna take the rest of the thunder away, but I know that it started like 2 years ago. Ron was on that committee, and some other ones Dick was on that committee, and a few other people. They're responsible for the news and views as well. Getting all together, get some of that stuff organized, and we give thanks for that. And Carl will take it over from there.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'll start with the news and views. There's a lot of figures in here, so I hope you understand what I wrote. The September issue of the News and Views is out with a brand new look. We've billed $7,545 in ads, although some of them are for a year's subscription. We collected $1,075 for a total of $8,620. There was a one-time setup fee of $1,200, ad setup was $560, and printing was $5,154.60 for a total of $6,914.60. This all makes sense. After paying our expenses, we netted $1,705.40 for the month of September. That's more than the $1,000 a year we were getting from the previous printer. Our thanks go out to Petrona and David Fagan for their diligent efforts in getting companies to advertise in our newsletter. Tentative start date for the clubhouse roof is late October. We've been notified that the materials for the clubhouse roof have been increased $3,855 since first ordered, but we're still within our approved amount. We will keep you updated as we receive more information. I would like to mention that personnel issues are confidential and will not be discussed at board meetings. If a resident or board member have a problem with the staff, they need to come to the admin office and speak with me or Jerry as Human Resource Director. Thank you.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is unfinished business, and we have none. New business presentation of the 2022 budget by Larry Hughes.
Start, I'm gonna start by looking for one copy of, finance committee method for, budget. Next year. Okay, let me first, introduce you to the members of the finance committee that are here this morning. Ken Sajak is not here. He has, doctor appointments. I think anybody knows what's going on there. We all, most of us do. And Dave Fagan was selling tickets this morning early, and he's not here yet, but he's supposed to be showing up. So we have, here is Mike Garantano, Tom Wallington, and Anna Webster. Thanks for the great round of applause.
Well, we were waiting for the climax.
The finance committee this year, we worked with a new GM, a new bookkeeper, and no audit. Is there anybody out here that knows when that's happened before? So when we work without an audit, we are going to start in 2022 saying we have $0. We could be in the hole, we could be $100,000 ahead, we don't know. So it's very hard to do this budget, but this is what we came up with, and we think that we're fair. The very first thing I'd like to explain to everybody again, and I guess this isn't going out on YouTube. YouTube it is? Cool. So people that aren't here hopefully are watching on YouTube. And if they are, things, people think we're spending an awful lot of money for this board. We are spending reserve money. We're not trying to spend a lot of money for anything else. But I'd like you to know what the reserve money does not pay for. It does not pay for wages, does not pay for electricity, water, postage, printing, insurance on our buildings, other assets, which would be like the public works, their mowers, building and maintenance, a computer consultant, attorney fees, pool supplies, vehicle maintenance. That's a few things that the reserve money does not pay for. So when I tell you that the dues are going up, they are. And we'll get that at the very end. There's another thing that came up, and it almost seems like it depends on how you read something, but there was some talk because we put the computers this year. As you know, we bought computers for the admin, and there's three or four up here, I can't remember. We bought new computers. There was talk that the computers have been taken out of the reserves. However, in the 2015 and 2017 reserve study, and it's, I guess I go paragraph 4.1, it states that computer server networks comprise of a server, computers, and miscellaneous equipment. It goes on to say, this is in both, there was a reserve study done in 2015 and 2017. It goes on to say, in both of those years, that management and the board informed the reserve advisors the association was going to replace the computer equipment through the operating budget. But it does not say that the computers are removed from the reserves. Now, there should be a reserve study done in 2022. At that time, the board, whomever it may be, I think should verify, and it's either one way or the other, because the way you read it, it can be done either way. I don't know if it's meant to be said. I don't know if it's meant to be said that way, but that's the way I read it anyway. The next thing I've got, the budget for 2021, under the income in 2021, landscaping income was at $21,600.
Little bit,
Oh.
yeah, negative.
The budget for 2021 that we're working in now, landscaping was, their budget of income was gonna be $21,600. Collections and fines were $77,700. And the administration was $96,750. Now, by not having a budget yet, or excuse me, an audit yet, I can't tell you where we stood in 2020. I can tell you where we were in 2019, which was a full year. And of course, 2020 is not, and 2021 won't be a full year as far as income goes. But in 2019, landscaping made $11,808, according to the audit. Collections and fines actually made $54,025. So instead of making 21,000, they made 11, so you're $10,000 short. Collections and fines was 77,700. We actually made 54. Quick figuring that's roughly $22,000 short. And projected income was another 24,000. I do not know what the 24,000 really came from. And also, I do not believe that the previous board or the previous finance committee set those figures for the landscaping collections and all that. I do not think the finance committee last year or the board last year set those numbers. I believe they were probably provided by the GM, who had been here for, I don't know, years, 13 years. I believe he probably put those numbers out, and the finance committee would have just flown with it, knowing that he'd been here so long that they didn't question him. I'll be honest with you, if he was still here, I wouldn't have questioned him. But doesn't matter, those numbers are there, those numbers are short this year. We will be short this year, probably. So in 2022, the biggest mover in 2022 are the wages. I have said that at other meetings. I hope everybody understands that. And it's not Brookridge's problem, not Brookridge's fault that it's the wages. It's the state of Florida has raised minimum wage, as everybody knows. Starts the 30th of this month. Anybody making less than $10 an hour will be making $10 an hour. To give you an idea, that's 23 employees. We'll be going from $8.65. We have one employee that makes $9.64. We'll be going to 10. Everybody else is at 9 or below. And that'll be those wages for the next 3 months. That also is not figured into the 2021 budget. And I'm not smart enough to tell you how many $1,000 that'll be, but it'll be a substantial amount. Also, Friday night bingo is figured into the 2021 budget, as it was in 2020, which it didn't happen either. So that's about $2,200 a month that we lose from Friday night bingo. So it's another thing that's going to be short. Now, I'll get to why I'm saying all this in just a minute. So this budget, this finance committee, where's my page one there? So let me give you an idea of what we did in this year's budget, for next year, I mean, for 2022 budget. Landscaping, as it was, I told you in the budget in 2021 was $21,600. We're budgeting $15,000 this year. And I'll be honest with you, I think I inflated that by $4,000. I think it would be good to make $11,000. Collections and fines last year was $77,700. In your packet, you'll see where collections and fines this year, we're figuring $30,000. how we come up with those numbers, so far through the end of June, we've made a little less than $15,000. There's no way anybody's gonna get to $77,000. That's why I don't think the previous board or the previous finance committee made those numbers up. I don't think that was done. If it was done, shame on them. But it did keep your HOA fee at $45. Now, is that part of the reason to do it? I don't know. Administration, I think they were at 96,000 last year. We expect to make 110,000 at the administrative office. We also have an estimated other income of $30,000. Believe it or not, that is news and views. We know we're pretty sure we will make 2,000 a month. We're figuring 2,500. And that's how you get to the $30,000, is 2,500 a month. Again, it's a budget that we did the best we could do. So, and the members up here all have this on so they can read it and follow up. And they all don't understand it. So, in 2020, the total amount for the department requirements was $1,310,850. But like I said, that did not include the 23 employees that are going up to $10 an hour. It did include Friday Night Bingo, which we're not going to have. This year's department requirements, we've got it figured out at $1,369,600. So that's roughly $50,000 difference. And most of that, like I said, is in wages. So we figured, and like I said, we got the paperwork up here, but we figured that the total requirements, which is $1,369,600, this is for 2022. We have total operating expenses of $1,184,600. You take that figure and you add $455,700, which is our HOA, what we have to pay for our HOA to fund the reserve. So we end up with a total of $1,640,300. That is $1,002 higher than last year. Over the 2020 budget. And to give you an idea, it takes $33,000 to move your HOA fee $1. So you can take $1 million, it takes $33,000. $3 is going to be $99,000. And I hope everybody understands that. So that moves your HOA fee up $3. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, our budget is $48 a month for next year. As the board, I'm sure we'll go down through this line item by line item. In each department. But I want to say this, and I'm not saying this to be mean, I'm saying this because it's the way I feel. As you can tell with the paperwork that y'all have in front of you, there was very little change of any of the line items from the GM's budget. The reason for that is we thought that and this is not just me, I'm sorry, this is the committee. We thought that the previous board had interviewed the bookkeeper and the GM. So if they had to trust in them to do the budget, we do too. We're not going to go back and micromanage what they've figured out. We think that they've done a fair job with the expenses for each department. I've talked to each department head myself, and I think we all agreed with what was on the budget. We may have changed a total of 8 or 10 line items. That's all the finance committee even changed. The rest is all done by the GM. So we think we're right. I mean, if we had an audit, we'd know where we stood. We don't have an audit. Don't ask when we're gonna get the audit, because I can't tell you. Jerry calls, the bookkeeper calls and texts, the GM calls, I've called, and here we sit. I don't know what else you could do other than call. You can't threaten them. What are you gonna do then? So we're at their mercy. That's just, to me, that's all we've got to go by. It's just whatever we're figuring here, it was $0. Also, in your booklet, like state booklet, we did a recommendation, and it's only a recommendation, same as the budget, this is just a recommendation. The board will decide whether they want to change things, move things, do what they want to do. But on the reserve study, and we put this in Anna Webster's hands, and she spent hours and hours trying to figure it out. Again, with an audit, it's been a lot easier. But we've come up with some numbers that we think are correct, and like I say, you've all got copies of them. I'm not gonna go through them with everybody here. And I believe the way this is done, if I'm correct, one thing on the reserve study, or on the reserve plan, I should say, funding. The very last line item we have, the last 4 line items on here are vehicles, which includes, there's a truck out here that facilities uses. There is a 2018 Ford F-150 that Public Works uses. There are 2 vehicles for security. And then there's a trailer that they use for Public Works. The trailer will probably last for the rest of my lifetime. But what we would like to do, and this is a recommendation to the board, the finance committee would like to see these vehicles, why, we don't understand why they're in a separate line item for the reserve funds. Why wouldn't they be put in Public Works and code enforcement, security, and facilities? Seems to me that if they're in their components rather than a separate line item, there may be a reason they're a separate line item, and I don't know that, but it would seem to me that if security has that, and if Public Works has that, and facilities has that in their own components, I just can't see why it's split. I don't understand why it's split. But that's something the reserve study, and then you talk to the reserve people when the study gets done next year, and explain those couple things. There's a thing on the computers for do they want to be in reserve or don't they want to be in reserves? And whichever way it is, change it so it says it's not in the reserves. If these vehicles can be changed and put into their own components, it just seems to me that it makes more sense. And that's all I got to say about that. Anna did work for with the reserve funding though, and for quite a few hours trying to figure it out. But she finally found a way to spend $455,700. And it's not really spent, I don't mean that. It has to go into the funding. I guess does everybody know that the funding we do for the reserves is when you put money away so that we can afford to pay for this roof, rather than coming up with it this year, we gotta come up with $300,000, put a roof on, or something else. That's why we have these reserves, and there's a reserve plan, and on that plan, it tells you, and the easiest one for me to understand, is the vehicles for code enforcement. Code enforcement gets, just so everybody knows, code enforcement gets a new vehicle every 4 years. And it's up discretionary as to how much money each year is put into the reserve fund for them to buy those vehicles. I believe at one time it was like $5,000 a year per vehicle. Well, $20,000 doesn't buy much of a vehicle. So we've changed that in the proposal that we have given out, we've changed that, and we're putting more than that in there this year. I think Billy's truck, Public Works' vehicle, he gets a new one in 2018. Oh, let me back up a second. So code enforcement gets a new vehicle in 2021, which is coming. They also get a new vehicle in 2022. They don't get anything in 2023, 24, 25. Then again, 2026 he gets one, 2027 they get one. However, in 2028, they don't get one. 29 they don't, in 2030 they don't. However, in 2018, Public Works gets a new vehicle. Now, the vehicle that Public Works has is a 3/4 ton pickup. You won't buy that for $20,000. You'd probably be lucky if we buy it for $50,000 by 2018 comes around. 2028, excuse me. 2028 rolls around. I don't think you'll buy one for $50,000. So money has to be put away each year to be able to buy that stuff. Same thing with the mowers. We took that money out of reserves. That again, there's a plan that tells you when things are supposed to die, so you have to buy something new. But if you don't put the money away, you won't have money to do it. And that's what the reserves are for, and that's what the reserve plan is, to show you when things have to be done. Now, a reserve study gets done in 2022, I hope, which may tell you that code enforcement doesn't need a new vehicle only once every 5 years instead of 4. I don't know what it'll come up with, but it could be something like that. But then again, it could say, Public Works 3/4 ton pickup should be replaced every 5 years instead of 10. That's just something that this reserve study would have to show us. There's another thing coming up next year that the road paving. There are no roads scheduled to be paved in 2022. There is an engineer study supposed to be done in 2022. I don't know what that'll cost. I think by looking at the reserve pie chart thing, I think there's around $116,000 set aside for that. I have no idea what it'll cost. But next year in that reserve study, they've got to look at the road from Weatherford all the way around to Brookridge Central. In 2023, that road gets paved. However, it also gets milled. By milling, what I'm understanding from Azarelli, when they give us their bid, we talked about this, was they will probably go down to dirt. That isn't going to be cheap. To pay 4 roads and there are 4 lanes of highway from Weatherford, I think they said that would go down to Schubert, the milling. If it only goes as far as Schubert, wahoo. How much is that going to cost? We had come up with a plan for the, when they mill the blacktop off, they would normally haul that away. We have figured that we are going to put that over in the RV compound, level it off, so that the RV compound maybe won't have the bale hay or anything. Maybe they'll take care of it with the milling from the road. And we also wouldn't have to pay as much because we're gonna have it here, so they're not hauling it away to some other plant someplace, which would cost us extra money also. So I do think that there has to be a reserve study done in 2022. I believe that the road study, the engineer needs to do their study in 2022, so that when 2023 rolls around, another thing I'll throw out there, and this won't make anybody happy, I believe when they do their road study, they're gonna find out that we have trees out there that the roots are growing underneath the roads. You don't just cut the roots out. That isn't gonna solve the problem. I believe they're gonna find that there's gonna be some trees that left from down in the boulevard. And I know that's not gonna make anybody happy. I think the trees need to be there. It's nice, it just gives you something better to look at than just two lanes going one way and two lanes going the other way and a little grass growing in the middle. But, and I don't know how that'll turn out. That'll all be up to the engineer. But it's something to think about, in the next year. Might have to be done. And if some of them trees do have to come down, it's not cheap to take a tree down. I don't know how many people have ever had a tree taken down on their lawns, but sometimes they're $1,000 to take a tree down. So if you have to take 10 trees down, another $10,000 added. And I think, I don't know, that's about. The other thing I put in here for suggestions to possibly make more money next year in 2022, which just won't make some people happy either. First, the budget committee would suggest raising our screening and background checks. I know it's raised to $75 this year. We'd like to up that to $100. There was roughly 170 screens have been processed so far this year, and it's only another $25, but every dollar will help. Something else that was tried last year, and I believe this has to go to the membership. I think that's why this didn't work all the way through last year. We tried charging a $100 fee for a new home purchase or an existing home being transferred from one owner to another. Give you an idea, from January 21 to July of 21, there's been approximately 100 homes. No, not exact, but right close to that. So there's another $10,000 we could have to help out with the budget. I believe that probably has to go to the member. Has to go to the resident. So what? Be a deed. So if we have to do that, and you said 2/3, yeah, 2/3 majority in the membership would have to approve that, whether that'll get approved or not. Yeah, I hope. The other thing I'm going to say, and it's going to make everybody just take a look at, the RV compound is an amenity, so there's no charge for a motorhome or a trailer to be stored there. However, each lot must apply annually for a spot. This is handled at the administrative office to update the registrations, make sure their insurance is done and all that other stuff. And we think that the administration office should collect the fee to update that information. And we would let the board of directors set the amount, but I believe that also will have to go to the membership, whether it passes or not. I don't know. I think there is a precedent for this. The pool is an amenity, but I do believe we collect money for pool passes. So I think that's a start. Could be. Could be deed restriction. Right. Well, but we think that there is a precedent with the pool passes anyway. Now, and maybe it won't fly. I don't know what else to tell you about the budget. Like I said, it comes out to $48 a month. The biggest increase is the wages. You figure next year, everybody that is making $10 an hour between September 30th this year to September 30th next year, after September 30th, they will be making $11 an hour for the next year. And then it goes to 12, 13, 14, and 15. So if our budget gets approved, we didn't figure any money for Friday night bingo. So Friday night bingo comes back, that's money in our pocket, we didn't plan on, which would help towards next year, or maybe 2023's budget, if we can make more money that way, if it comes in. I don't know what else to tell you, folks, what have I missed? Just off our sheet, yeah, I did off this. Didn't use that. This is our income for next year, what we think is true. The income, and I kind of said, I think I said this, but maybe I didn't. The proposed income for 2021, yeah, I did. Landscaping was 21,600. We think we can make 15,000. We believe all these numbers are inflated, but it kept your HOA fee at $45. If you'd like us to inflate these numbers to, I don't care, 100,000, you tell me what you want to put in there. You want, I can make your HOA fee most anything you want. But it's all inflated. We're trying to do this as honestly as we can. This is what we truly expect to make. And that's why it's at $48. I don't know what else to say, folks. Go. Val's gonna ask me a question, I hope I can answer.
All right, I guess I said that income thing wrong. What I meant to pose as a question is, you mentioned we earned $15,000 in fines through June,
Yes, very close to that, yeah.
and we run, 24 hours of patrols at $10 an hour? And is there a way we could reduce that to help save money?
What I'm gonna say, and this is off my head, code enforcement, of course, is the highest, because they have most employees. I think the only way to save money in code enforcement is at the gate. The gate is 47 hours a day, and that's, I say 47, because there's 2 people there, all but one shift. No, yeah. I think there's 2 people there, 24 hours a day, which is 48 hours, but for some reason that I don't understand, we only pay out 47. So to me, rather than trying to, I'm not shooting you down, but for me, rather than trying to figure out if a guy's driving around the roads 3 times a day or 6 times a day, and I don't know that, but would be to eliminate the people at the gate. That's the biggest money. I don't think that's feasible. I don't want that myself. The only way that it could be done, I think, and we play golf at different places, or in some other communities, they have for lack of a better word, a box that we talk into. When we drive up and there's a box there, and you say, tell them your name. They say, where are you going? We're going to the golf course, have a tee time at 10 o'clock. Okay. Then they lift the gate and we win. There's nobody at the gate. But what I don't, and then they also have a resident gate, which is like ours. They have a barcode or something, so they can get in. But what I don't understand, when you get into that, into doing it like I just tried to say, other communities do, I don't know how emergency vehicles get in place. I don't know how they do that. I don't know how, I can see during the day how it could possibly happen, but at night, I can't figure out how they would do it.
Jerry, may I say one thing, Jerry? They have on the trucks, the automatic openers, all the states have it. When they come into a community, those gates up there on their truck, just like they do for the lights, they change, opens automatically for your police and your fire departments.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's a corporate into the computer system.
Oh, that's cool.
Otherwise, how are they gonna get in?
He's right.
I didn't know that, Rich. Thanks. But now to your point, I think as far as code enforcement goes, that's the only place that I can really see that would save any big amount of money. I probably didn't answer your question. But I tried.
Well, if you gave me your opinion, I was just wondering if the finance committee could look into that, because in my opinion, paying 3 full shifts to look at mold seems a bit expensive if we're gonna get $30,000 a year.
Okay, yeah. You know, and I know, they do more than that.
Yes, I do.
And I think you still wanna have somebody in a vehicle driving around here after hours, and I mean like at midnight, to watch the druggies come in and buy their drugs and drive out.
Is our crime rate higher or lower than High Point with no gates,
I
with
don't-
no rovers?
It's, we're lower, I believe, than High Point.
And you
High
say
Point.
find out.
High Point, like you say, and we could do that. I don't think the community wants to follow High Point in the way they do things. Maybe they all do. I don't think we do. So that would mean that we're still back to a gatehouse with people at it, other than, you know what I'm trying to say?
And don't misinterpret me that I want to get rid of the gate. I don't. I moved in this community specifically for the gate. I just don't know that we need a rover 24/7, even if we could cut down one shift or do it, you know how they're 5 on, 5 off?
Yeah.
Maybe stagger the scheduling. Maybe we could save a lot of wages that way. And through attrition, I don't want to fire anybody.
Right.
But I do see a lot of turnover in the code enforcement, so through attrition.
Do you really see that?
With drivers?
Well, no, with people up at the gate, but they're all the same department.
People at the gate, but not, no, people at the gate, yes, there is a turnover. The drivers, there is not, just to clarify.
Yes, Ayla?
Would you like to make a comment?
No.
Was working early.
Good morning. I would just like to
Name
make
and
a comment,
unit
and I
number.
understand what Val is saying.
Name and unit number, please.
Oh, hello. Anna Webster, Unit 4.
Thank you.
I understand exactly what you're saying, Val, and we researched everything we could. My comments are a couple. Most of the people that move in here want a gated community. That's one of the priorities for them. I know it's a bit of an expense, but I also know that there are a lot of single people that live here, single women, that I think that cutting back on the night shifts or anything you cut back is a detriment to the security that we feel. You know, yes, we choose to be a single person in one way or the other, but we also are here because we choose to have the security that we feel comfortable with. So that's my comment.
Do we have any other comments?
Just leave it on.
Still the wire, unit 4. Okay, for comments regarding security, as we sort of know it loosely. There was talk a couple of 3 or 4 weeks ago about saving fuel by not having these vehicles outside of the community checking the outer perimeter, which they cannot do. It's not visible. Has that been determined that that could be cut back? That's a lot of miles, a lot of fuel. That's the question.
That's not been determined yet. That is being looked into as far as going outside the gate. Also looking to checking the perimeter from the inside. I think he said it was a requirement to go outside the gate, but I'll check to make sure.
Okay, I never thought it was a requirement because you can't change what supposedly was being done going outside the gate.
They have a comment.
That's not completely true, because there are some parts that they do have to look at on the outside, but that is something that Jerry is looking into. We, all of us assume a lot that you didn't think it was a requirement, but there's a lot of requirements that we have here that the general manager and the staff would know, that there were everyday things that we would not know. So we can't say it's not a requirement or that it is a requirement.
And that needs to be clarified, correct? Because I do know, I went around the outside perimeter. And I don't think it's worth going out there. Or what you're thinking you're accomplishing.
Okay, I do know they have to check the school gate at the back of the park, and they do have to check the other side, so.
Okay, realize where the schools are. There are 2 gates. Not gates, there are 2
Okay,
gates.
we can discuss this, and we can look this. I will say I will look at that, but we got other comments from people who can do something about this.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to bring it up during a meeting. Thank you.
Jerry, got a couple comments from
Okay.
This is from Jerry Kraft. She's saying cutting code enforcement or gated community would not be good for Brookridge. We would feel safe, not feel safe, and this is why we moved here. Another comment, people are already complaining there's not enough code enforcement to keep up with the speeding. We need them here on all 3 shifts. Golf carts are being taken, etc.
those are comments from the YouTube channel.
I'd like to say one more thing too, about the speeding. And I don't know all the facts, so I'm gonna just spit this out. We have 2 vehicles right now, we have 2 cars right now for code enforcement. I don't know what we were allowed on the one we're gonna trade in. But I thought, why don't we use that for a decoy? Why don't we just park it out there somewhere? And I know there's a mannequin around somewhere, we could put a mannequin in it, if that would help, if that scares somebody. Sounds stupid, don't it? But maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't stupid.
Great idea.
Jerry, it's a good point.
That's
You break down that car. We have, mentioned that for a guide, put out there for a dummy unit. If you break down that car, the actual cost to build that car with GM was $17,849, and that was one engine 5.56 and 16. So whatever we paid for it, we not come close to what they built it for, which is when you don't negotiate. Car number 17 the year, that was 18,517. That's on that one there. So one of those 2 cars for 17.8 you can put out there and just have a decoy. Car's paid for. If they give you $1,000 for it, by having a decoy, we could save maybe $2,000 in the speed. Look at the obvious. If you put it, just like on the highway, Route 50, you have a decoy, you slow down. That's my case.
Just to add to that,
where I lived before coming down here, I had to travel a very busy highway going through the city of Worcester, Mass. And the state police had those decoys out there for a couple of days until somebody discovered that they were decoys. And it kind of blew their whole initiative. So we want to really think about both sides of the issue. I think it's a great idea, but it's not going to take long for people to see it. Now, don't forget, people, we're also on TV, and people talk. And don't you think this is going to be on one of those, I'll loosely say, social sites before the end of this? Just my 2 cents.
Any other comments out there about the budget? Because that's what we're talking about, more than that. Come on.
Mike Green, Unit 6. Larry, a couple of comments. One thing, I think we may want to clarify the pool pass. I believe you're talking about the guest pass for access to the pool, because I hear pitchforks already being sharpened outside.
Oh, okay. Thanks, thanks, Mike.
That was just one thing I wanted to bring up. Also, on the computers, an idea is just like vehicles, in my past experience in IT, computers are depreciated, so therefore they're not a consumable product. So they get depreciated over a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Just like roadways, roofs, and other objects. So just something else to consider when you guys have that discussion about the computers.
Yeah, and that may be something when the reserve study is done next year is, yes, you take it out of the reserves then. But the way I read, and maybe it's just me, but the way I read that statute, and not the statute, the reserve study, it really opens it up so it could be done either way. It does not say that they're gonna take it out of the reserves. It says that the board and the administrative and the board decided in 2015 and 2017 that they were, in 2017 that they were gonna take it out of the reserves, but it doesn't say in that paper, in that rule, I don't see a rule. But in their study, it doesn't say it comes out of the reserves. It just says that they had decided they would take it out of the operating budget. So it's just something, yeah, you're right, it's just something we gotta clarify and get it either one or the other. Don't leave it hanging like it is now. That's the way I feel, it's just out there. Thanks, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Beverly Epstein, Unit 6. There are a number of people residents in the community that will automatically vote no for this budget. What do we do to stress the need for the $3 increase?
I know one thing that we're going to do is we will have special meetings, and just hopefully the people that are for it will be speaking to others. I know that I've already, I get emails from a couple of snowbirds, and I'm sure some of these other, some of the other board members do also. They've already asked, because Larry had mentioned it at one of the prior meetings, and after that, they said, what do we have to do to make sure it gets voted in? And what you have to do is, if you agree, and let's face it, folks, if we keep it at $45, we are going to be in dire straits next year. And when a board gets assessments, that's right, there would be this, well, special assessments would only be for reserves. We would be, the state could come in, if you get into that much debt, the state could come in and there's something called receivership. And we want to keep our community going, because that's what brings other people in. One thing that people look at that many of us might not do, but realtors and that, they look at your financial status of the community. And that is one thing that is really important for us to keep up.
One other thing I'd like to reinforce about the security. When meeting new residents, I hear that so often, that that's the most important thing to them. We have a lot of single women in the community, and they feel so secure living here. Thank you, Larry. Good job.
Thanks. Thank the committee on it.
Let me make a comment on that right there. If this don't pass, you have to find some way to make it on $45. So if it doesn't, what's your only option? Your only option is to cut staff. That means you have to cut security. That means you have to cut other things. And mainly that's your biggest expense is the payroll. And you have to make a choice. Do you want this, like single people say, they're gonna vote this down? Well, if they don't vote for it, they compromise their security. All right, question back in the back.
I have a couple of them on YouTube too.
John?
I'm Jackie McCabe, Unit 6. First of all, I'd like to say I moved here because I'm single. My realtor said from New Jersey and Rhode Island, would you please live in a gated community? I love it here. I don't want to have to leave. I listen to a lot of people, and I'm hearing exactly what Beverly heard. We want to have a gate. But I'd also like to thank Larry and this budget committee. They've done a beautiful job. They've really tried. And we now need to get out and convince people that this is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Got a question right here.
You're too short, he couldn't see you.
Working now?
Working out.
Tom O'Lincoln, Unit 1. Two things. You forgot about one thing here as far as things don't pass. You say cuts. You made one of the major expenses, security. That would be asinine. Now, the other thing is you forgot that people don't realize, well, where we're gonna save some expenses. Well, we're gonna close the clubhouse down for a couple of months. Close the pool. That's how you save money. That's the reality. That's some of the things that might have to be done. And if you don't pass it, and you leave it at 45, you're gonna get double hit in 2022. Now you're really gonna get hit. What do you do? Farther and farther behind, and then you're gonna look at 50. It's crazy. We gotta pay our freight. If we didn't have this expense with the salaries and stuff like that, there was a real good shot at 45, possibly 46. But we can't. We've gotta pay the salaries, period. We're bound by that. My last comment about security at the gate. I made a statement a couple of years ago, and I'm gonna say it again. A lot of you people don't realize what those people do at that gate. Now, I know that the sheriff's department works very closely with Greg, and he gives them the bolo every once in a while. That's be on the lookout for somebody. A lot of people don't realize that they have caught at least 3 really bad apples at that gate. Why? Because they're doing their job. 2 of the 3 went to prison for a long time. To me, that's worth every penny. Now, as far as driving around the exterior of the community here, some years ago, I had my boat stolen, the motor, everything. They got access to it. How? Well, they jumped that fence over there by the compound. That's an area that people have a lot of money invested in, their boats, motorhomes. That has to be checked, period. It's something we have to do. And, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Jerry Kraft, actually, next one would be, Sandy Hoos. If a pool pass is lost, you have to buy a new one, it's pretty much correct, you have to purchase a new one. Same goes for your guest pool pass, if you lose it, you gotta buy another one, you can't. No ticket, no wash, that's what the old saying used to be, no pool pass, no swim. You can park the decoy in my driveway, that's for Mark Whitley. Jerry Kraft says, I think the decoy is a good idea, people would have to slow down to be sure it's a decoy. Jerry Kraft, $48 is cheaper than anywhere else, everything is going up, we all know that. Mark Whitley says, paint 30 mile an hour in big numbers on the paveway every quarter of a mile on the boulevard, both directions. And Jerry Kraft says, good idea.
Hi, Lindy Votes Unit 4. I just have a question and a comment. The question is, have we ever looked into what the cost is for the gate? Like, I went to visit someone at Christine Place, and there's either a code that they give you, or you can push a button and it calls them. And I don't know if they see you or somehow, but somehow they open the gate and let you in. And I just thought that might be an initial cost a lot, but eventually you wouldn't have to have anybody there, and it's kind of more safe in a way, because at our gate, anybody can give any address pretty much and get in, where this one, you either have to know the person's number to call them, or you have to know the code to get in. It seemed a little more, almost like an apartment complex where you go and you buzz and they have to let you in. It almost seemed like that, so I don't know if that's ever been looked into or not, but that was my question.
Lynn, I know that, there's been talk of that in the past, and I think it's something to do with, we have, that gate goes up. The visitor's gate goes up almost 1 million times a year. And in other communities, especially like apartments and things, they don't have a lot of vendors and separate people that come in. And I think that had something to do with it, but it's something that we can.
I was just curious to,
Yeah.
I don't know what the cost would be.
I know that they had talked about it a couple of years ago.
That was, and a comment I have, I don't know, I'll probably get daggers thrown at me, but, I do think they should kind of maybe charge for the RV compound, because, and you can't really look at it, like I've heard people say, oh, well, the pool's an amenity, so they can't, but actually, the pool is actually open and available to everybody, and the RV compound really isn't, because there's only so many spots. So that is a consideration. It doesn't have to be a lot of money, but because they do have to pay, there's the lights, there's the line, there's the, there is upkeep involved in that. And since it's only a small fraction of folks that are able to actually use that, I think maybe there could be a little revenue come from there, but I don't know. It's just my thought.
Having been on the compound committee, the donations take care of the lights, because we do have people that donate. There's 265 spots, there's probably about 90 people that donate to the RV compound a year, to the RV compound committee. And I know that pays for the security cameras and the lights and the upkeep of the lights.
Okay, any other comments about the budget, Ms.?
Tom, only thing you didn't want, one last thing, real quick. Speeding. I'm telling you, I am absolutely, my mind is blowing here. How many times people have brought up speeding. Live with it. I don't care if you've got 30 cops out there on the streets. They're gonna have speeders. Let's forget it once for all. We discussed this 38 years ago, 25 years ago, 10 years ago. Forget about it. We tried everything. We have tried right?
Yeah.
Everything we tried to know, forget about it. Okay? Now, one last comment, already comment. Forget about charging them the initial fee, transfer fee, yes. We've discussed this 15, 20 times, and every time shut down, dead issue. Move on. That's it. And, I also want to say one thing to you, Jerry. I was watching the last meeting, and, it's about time, and it's a pleasure to see somebody with some honesty and tell it like it is. Okay? I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's it.
And I just wanna, I just wanna make, a comment about what you said about the speeding, Tom. I get, board members get this email called HOA leadership, and speeding is one of, and it's about it's every HOA and condo in America just about, and that is one of the things that come up all the time, and they say that it doesn't matter which community you are in, is always gonna be speeders, and people every year say, what are we gonna do about the speeders? What are we gonna do? And there is literally nothing, unless you have somebody out there 24/7, you are not going to be able to do it. How many times do you go up on 75 and the cops are there? You go down to 70, and as soon as you're away from there, maybe not me, but other people, and they just speed up again. So I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, because people would say.
Be honest.
Breaking the law?
I keep mine at 4 miles over the speed limit. Because I know, because of my husband. So it's a forever issue.
Any other comments about the budget?
I'd like to ask Larry, about, I know he's saying that because of the minimum wage going up. When I was out in the world working, when the minimum wage went up, the salaries for other people that were not at minimum wage also went up. Is that gonna be a consideration here?
We did not do that. I'll tell you what is proposed, but we haven't put any, nothing's been put in place yet. I believe that if somebody is making $10.20 an hour, they should get a 3% raise. Maybe I shouldn't say it out loud, but that's what I feel. If I've got somebody next year, if I've got somebody making $11.40, I think they should get a 3% raise. I think that if somebody's worked here and is making $11 an hour, he didn't start yesterday. But next October, somebody can walk in and make $11 an hour. And I don't think it's right that somebody's been here for 4 or 5 years and has finally got up to a pay that's 11 something should be. I don't think it's right that they would just sit there and make their $11.20 or 30 cents, whatever they make, is with the guy that walks out the street makes 11. I don't think that's right. But nothing has been said. Nothing. Rosemary, we haven't said anything like that at all. I would like to, but I will have to have more guidance before I can do things like that.
Okay, is there any other discussion about the budget? If not, we'll go to, report of directors and start down here with, Mark Keller.
Well, I have a report, but I think I'm gonna save it till our board meeting, Jerry, if that's okay with you. And also, Larry, I would like to answer one of your questions. And one of Jerry's questions about one of his town hall meetings about the $24,000 carryover. Well, when I talked to Greg Schubert, he was supposed to cut $9,000 to $10,000 out of his budget, and the money we saved from the past bookkeeper and GM not working, that was part of the $24,000 carryover. That's what the finance committee came up with.
That's where they came from. I didn't know that.
And then also Betty retired as well.
I didn't know where that money came from.
Well, I'm letting you know.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. My finance committee did work hard on this
Yeah.
during the COVID situation, and with the corrupt computer systems we had and everything, we had our hands full.
Oh, I'm sure.
And, you know, we had to take care of a corrupt server, install new software, which we didn't get credit for. And it was things like that that we had to do.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Rich, got anything in your committee report?
I'll carry mine over to the next meeting, okay? But just the basic, I want to talk about this new truck we have coming. I know we have a truck coming, somebody says so. I don't know what the capability of this truck is. It's a four-cylinder, it's a six-speed transmission. I don't know the rear-end gearing. Why he has the rear-end gearing? The higher the ratio, the fuel to gas economy. The lower the ratio, maximum gas economy. We only drive 35 miles an hour average in this place, am I right?
I think we discussed that at the town hall meeting last Thursday.
Okay, I know we did.
About that, and now you're bringing it up again
No.
this meeting.
That's
Yes,
okay.
you are. You're worried so much about the gas mileage that you don't tell people the whole story.
What's the whole story?
The whole story, it's got a lifetime warranty on the powertrain, but you can keep going back to the gas mileage.
That's
It might
okay.
be- It might be
That's
3 or 4 miles an hour, 3 or 4 miles different, and keep going back to that. Like, we're getting something that's, like, we're wasting money. In fact, we're gaining money because we're getting lifetime warranty, and you keep going down that road.
Jerry, why don't you just calm down a little bit?
I calm down, you should resign, because you told people.
Alright, you should
You
resign.
was gonna
You
resign.
should
Alright,
resign,
alright.
because you leave a lot of us
I
out
would like,
of decision
Hey,
making.
wait, stop right there, Gil. You say you left out a decision. I got proof right here that you was not left out a decision, because I called you all the way up until the middle of July, and you say you're left out a decision. You said in the insurance meeting that we had down there, the mistakes you made last year, by, first main mistake was getting rid of Ray Giroux in the bookkeeper without having somebody in place to do the job. And then you passed a budget.
We were interviewing people at the time.
You passed a budget
You're gonna have
that did
an
not take
episode.
into
Calm
account any
down.
kind of COVID stuff.
Calm yourself down.
Calm myself down.
Right.
Those mistakes you made
Rich
and all the
has
board
a
made
lot
last year, if
of-
they had made it in a corporate setting, you would have been fired. So I think there needs to be a recall on you, Val, and Rich because of what happened and the stunt you pulled last week, like the testing, like last in the month of July, contesting the ballot vote and getting Val to look at the ballots and making sure that they was not tampered with or any of them would have been voided. That's where you undermined this thing, undermining the board itself.
That's another untruth, Jerry. It's another.
You're
untruth.
saying that's another untruth. She admitted it in a meeting with me after the Friday afternoon.
I never got her to do that.
Well, she said Beanie Bruno said, got her to look at the ballot box and the ballots and everything else. And I can tie you to Beanie Bruno and that group, because on Friday night, who sits around partying with them? Beanie Bruno, Mary Story, and everybody else sits down there. You shouldn't apologize to Mary Story for what happened in July. You should apologize to me, and you should apologize to this community for what's been said in the past. You never did apologize to them for telling people to move the High Point if they didn't like it.
okay, can we please calm down and get back to the meeting?
Jeez.
Yeah, you make it out like me, when in fact, y'all are the one that's causing divisiveness in this community. Because
You're
y'all
the
don't
one
want
that
to work
brings
together.
us up in town hall meetings and tells
Deal.
untrue things
During
about
meetings.
this past
Right,
board.
I've got paperwork
Rosemary
to
was
show you.
part of
I would like to
I-
adjourn this meeting.
No, you can't.
All in favor?
Nope, there was no second.
You gotta have a second.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose it.
This meeting is adjourned.
Yeah.
Okay, off the record, the social dance, if you have season tickets, please come and, they'll be available for pickup the next 2 Thursdays.